I spent 2 weeks trying to decide whether to call the director back. 2 weeks of peace, of normalcy, of pretending I could walk away from everything. Then I woke up one morning to find $847 million missing from the federal evidence accounts tied to Morrison's case. And I knew exactly who'd taken it. The news broke at 6:47 a.m. Every financial network was covering it. Largest cyber heist in federal history, $847 million stolen from FBI evidence accounts. The money had been seized from Morrison's network during her arrest. Cryptocurrency, offshore accounts, seized assets from corrupted cases. All of it was supposed to be held in secure federal custody pending trial and restitution to victims. Now it was gone. My phone rang. The same unknown number from 2 weeks ago. "Good morning, Victoria. I assume you've seen the news." The director's voice was calm, almost amused. "You stole it. Morrison's money. Actually, someone stole it from us. We were monitoring those accounts, planning to use them to compensate victims of Morrison's corruption. But last night, someone with extraordinary technical capabilities hacked into the federal system and transferred everything to untraceable wallets." "Who?" "That's what I need your help to find out. Because whoever did this isn't just a skilled hacker. They're someone who knew exactly which accounts to target, which security protocols to bypass, which timing windows to exploit. They had inside information, Victoria. Which means Morrison's network wasn't completely dismantled." I sat down heavily on my couch. I thought the FBI arrested everyone. They arrested everyone we knew about. But Morrison ran her operation in cells. Each cell only knew about their immediate contacts. We've been assuming we got the leadership, but this heist suggests otherwise. "What do you want from me?" "I want you to help us trace the money. You understand how Morrison's network operated better than anyone. You know the legal structures she used, the offshore accounts, the shell companies. Work with our cyber team, and we might be able to recover the funds before they disappear forever." "And if I refuse?" "Then $847 million funds whatever comes next. And I promise you, Victoria, what comes next will be worse than anything Morrison built." I looked at my packed boxes. My plan to leave New York, start fresh somewhere quiet. That dream was evaporating with every second. Where do I need to go? The director's operation was nothing like Morrison's secret facility. This was in a legitimate office building in Midtown Manhattan, operating under the cover of a cybersecurity consulting firm called Sentinel Solutions. I was met at the entrance by a woman in her 30s with sharp eyes and a security badge. "Ms. Sterling? I'm Jennifer Zhao, Director of Operations. Welcome to Sentinel." She led me through a lobby that looked like any other tech company. Modern furniture, motivational posters, employees working at standing desks. But when we reached a secure elevator that required biometric authentication, the facade dropped. "Everything above the 15th floor is legitimate business," Jennifer explained as we descended. "Tech consulting, corporate security, incident response. But floors 10 through 14 are dedicated to something else entirely." The elevator opened onto a floor that looked like a high-tech war room. Massive screens displayed financial transactions, legal databases, and what appeared to be real-time surveillance of various locations. At least 50 people worked at various stations, all with the intense focus of people engaged in something important. "This is the Oversight Initiative," Jennifer said. "We're a private organization funded by philanthropists, reformed criminals, and people who've been victims of legal corruption. Our mission is to identify and dismantle networks like Morrison's before they can do serious damage." "So you're vigilantes." "We're accountability. When the official system fails, we step in. When corruption goes too deep for traditional law enforcement, we provide alternatives." She led me to a conference room where several people were already waiting. Jake Morrison, my forensic analyst, was there. So was Daniel Park, the federal marshal who'd been duped by Morrison. "Jake? What are you doing here?" "Working. The director recruited me 3 days ago. Turns out my skills are useful for tracking digital corruption." He smiled weakly. "Plus, after everything that happened, I wanted to do something meaningful." Daniel nodded at me. "Same. The Bureau put me on administrative leave pending investigation into how I didn't detect Morrison's operation. The director offered me a chance to actually fight corruption instead of unknowingly serving it." The director himself appeared on one of the screens. His face was digitally obscured, voice modulated. "Thank you for coming, Victoria. Let me brief you on what we know. At 2:17 a.m. Eastern, someone initiated a sophisticated cyber attack on federal financial systems. They bypassed multi-factor authentication, defeated encryption, and transferred $847 million to 17 different cryptocurrency wallets. The screen showed the flow of money branching out like a digital tree. Within minutes, those 17 wallets split the funds into 340 smaller wallets. Those 340 split into 6,800. The money is currently dispersed across 127,000 different accounts worldwide, making recovery nearly impossible through traditional means. So it's gone, I said. Not necessarily. Whoever orchestrated this heist had to know about these accounts, had to have access to federal systems, and had to understand Morrison's financial architecture. That limits our suspects considerably. Jake pulled up a new screen showing profiles of approximately 20 people. These are individuals who had access to the information needed for this heist. FBI agents who worked Morrison's case. Financial analysts who reviewed her accounts. Attorneys who handled the asset seizures. And several unidentified individuals whose digital fingerprints appear in the federal systems but don't match any known personnel. One profile made my heart sink. It showed someone I recognized. Richard Chen. The fake attorney who'd tried to give me the fraudulent check. The one who'd been impersonating Marcus Chen's lawyer. We never caught him, Daniel said quietly. After we realized he'd tried to frame you, he disappeared. No trace, no leads, nothing. Until now, the director said. Because the hack used techniques we've seen before. Techniques that match Richard Chen's previous operations. We believe he's the architect of this heist. Over the next 3 days, I worked with Jake and Jennifer to analyze the financial trail. The money had been split and dispersed, but patterns emerged. Look at this, Jake said, highlighting specific transactions. The 127,000 accounts are distributed randomly across the world, but there's a clustering effect in certain regions. The Cayman Islands has 3,400 accounts. Singapore has 2,100. Switzerland has 1,800. Tax havens, I said. He's parking the money in jurisdictions that don't cooperate with U.S. investigations. Exactly. But there's something else. Jake pulled up metadata from the transactions. Each transfer was timed to coincide with market volatility in different time zones. He's using price fluctuations to obscure the money trail. Jennifer leaned over his shoulder. That level of sophistication requires serious financial expertise. This isn't just a hacker. This is someone who understands international finance, cryptocurrency markets, and legal jurisdictions. I thought about Richard Chen. The way he'd carried himself, the expensive suit, the detailed knowledge of Marcus Chen's legal affairs. What if Richard Chen isn't his real name? What if he's someone from Morrison's network who had legitimate credentials before going dark? We spent hours cross-referencing Morrison's associates with people who had the necessary skills. Eventually, Jake found something. Victoria, look at this. Morrison had a financial advisor named Robert Chong. He handled offshore accounts for her network, structured shell companies, managed cryptocurrency portfolios. He disappeared 6 months before Morrison's arrest. Jake pulled up Robert Chang's photo. It was the same person who'd shown up at my apartment claiming to be Richard Chen. He knew Morrison was about to be exposed, Jennifer said. He got out early and took knowledge of the financial network with him. But why wait until now to steal the money? Daniel asked. Because the money wasn't accessible until after Morrison's arrest, I explained. It was distributed across her network. Once the FBI seized it and consolidated it into evidence accounts, it became a single target. He couldn't steal from Morrison's protected network, but he could hack the FBI's security. The director's voice came through the speakers. Excellent analysis. Now we need to find him before the money becomes completely unrecoverable. Victoria, you understand legal structures better than anyone on my team. If you were Robert Chong, where would you hide? I thought about it. He needs somewhere with financial infrastructure to access his stolen funds. But he also needs somewhere with weak extradition treaties in case he's identified. And he needs somewhere he can live comfortably while managing 127,000 accounts. Dubai, Jake said suddenly. It checks all those boxes. Advanced financial infrastructure, weak extradition to the US, luxury lifestyle, and a significant cryptocurrency trading market. Jennifer pulled up surveillance data. We have assets in Dubai. Let me check recent arrivals. She ran facial recognition against immigration records. Within minutes, she had a hit. Robert Chong entered Dubai 4 days ago using a Canadian passport under the name Richard Chen. He's staying at the Burj Al Arab. The director spoke again. Jennifer, assemble an extraction team. Daniel, coordinate with Dubai assets. Victoria and Jake, you'll provide technical and legal support remotely. Wait, I said. Extraction? You're going to kidnap him. We're going to recover him. There's a difference. The operation was planned with military precision. Jennifer flew to Dubai with a team of 6 operatives. Daniel coordinated surveillance from New York. Jake and I monitored the digital landscape, tracking Robert Chang's cryptocurrency movements in real time. He's active, Jake said, watching transactions flow across his screen. He's moving money right now. Consolidating accounts, converting to different cryptocurrencies, layering transactions to obscure the trail. Can you interrupt it? Not without triggering security protocols that would alert him. We need to catch him with access to the accounts. If he realizes we're onto him, he could lock everything behind encryption we can't break. Jennifer's voice came through the secure communication channel. We have eyes on the target. He's in his hotel suite, working on a laptop. 2 security guards outside his door. Probably private contractors. Can you bypass them? Daniel asked. Working on it. We have hotel security codes. Going to create a false alarm that pulls the guards away. I watched on the surveillance feed as Jennifer's team moved through the luxury hotel. They were dressed as hotel staff, carrying cleaning supplies and maintenance equipment. Alarm triggered, one of the operatives reported. Guards responding to false fire alert on different floor. Jennifer and 2 others entered Robert Chang's suite using a cloned keycard. The feed showed Robert sitting at a desk with 3 laptops open, completely focused on his work. He didn't even notice them until Jennifer put a hand on his shoulder. Robert Chong, also known as Richard Chen. We need to talk about $847 million. Robert spun around, reaching for something. But Jennifer was faster, restraining him before he could access a weapon or alert anyone. Don't make this difficult. We just want the money. You're making a mistake, Robert said calmly. That money doesn't belong to the FBI. It belongs to the people Morrison stole it from. I'm returning it to them. By hiding it in 127,000 untraceable accounts? By distributing it beyond the reach of the next Morrison. Do you really think she was the only one? There are 5 more networks operating in the US alone. If that money goes back into federal custody, they'll steal it again. I'm making sure it goes to the victims. Jennifer checked his laptops. Jake, I'm uploading his system data now. Can you verify his claim? Jake worked frantically, analyzing the data. His expression changed as he read. Victoria, he's telling the truth. Look at this. He's been identifying victims of Morrison's corruption and transferring funds directly to them. Small amounts, designed to avoid detection. He's compensated 847 people so far. I looked at the list of recipients. Names I recognized from Morrison's case files. People who'd been wrongly convicted, families who'd been destroyed, individuals who'd lost everything to her corruption. He's not stealing the money, I said slowly. He's actually returning it to victims. The director's voice was skeptical. Or he's very good at creating convincing cover stories. No, Jake insisted. I can verify these transactions. They're going to real people with legitimate claims. And the amounts match documented losses from Morrison's cases. There was a long pause. Then the director spoke again. Bring him back to New York. We need to verify this personally. Robert Chong sat in Sentinel's interrogation room, looking tired but defiant. I sat across from him with Jake and Daniel. Why didn't you just come forward? I asked. Tell the FBI what you were doing? Because the FBI was compromised. Morrison had people in every department. I didn't know who to trust. So I took the money and handled it myself. That's still theft. Is it? I was Morrison's financial advisor. I knew where every dollar came from and where it should have gone. The FBI was going to tie it up in bureaucracy for years while victims suffered. I'm giving it back to them now. Jake pulled up documentation. I've verified 847 payments so far. Each one corresponds to a documented victim. The amounts are proportional to their losses. This isn't random. It's systematic restitution. What about the remaining $830 million? Daniel asked. There are 16,500 identified victims of Morrison's corruption. I'm working through them alphabetically. At my current rate, it'll take 6 months to distribute everything. The director appeared on screen. Robert, if what you're saying is true, you're doing exactly what we're trying to do. Why work against us? Because I don't know who you are. You could be another Morrison, using legitimate-sounding language to justify control. I learned not to trust anyone claiming to represent justice. Fair point, the director acknowledged. But you have a problem. The FBI is hunting you for the largest cyber heist in history. You can't return to the United States without being arrested. And managing 127,000 accounts from hiding is unsustainable. What are you proposing? Work with us. Sentinel has the resources and legal expertise to expedite victim restitution. We can provide cover for your activities, help you avoid prosecution, and ensure the money reaches everyone who deserves it. Robert looked at me. You're Victoria Sterling, the lawyer who exposed Morrison. Why are you working with these people? Because they're asking instead of commanding. Because they're trying to fix the system instead of exploiting it. And because I've learned that sometimes you have to trust someone, even if you can't verify everything they claim. Robert was quiet for a long moment. If I cooperate, what happens to me? You continue your work, the director said. But with support, protection, and legitimacy. The FBI will be told that an anonymous whistleblower provided information leading to victim compensation. Your identity stays protected. And if I refuse? Then we turn you over to federal authorities. You face 20 years in prison. The money gets tied up in legal proceedings. And victims wait another decade for justice. Robert agreed to cooperate. Over the next 2 weeks, working with Sentinel's resources, we accelerated the restitution process. What would have taken Robert 6 months alone took us 14 days working together. I reviewed each case, verifying that recipients were legitimate victims. Jake tracked the financial transfers, ensuring everything was documented. Daniel coordinated with undercover FBI contacts who helped shield our activities from scrutiny. By the end of the second week, we distributed $847 million to 16,500 victims of Morrison's corruption. The last transfer was to a woman in Ohio whose son had been wrongly convicted of a crime Morrison had manipulated. She'd lost her house, her savings, and 15 years with her son before his conviction was overturned. I watched on the video call as she received the notification of a $50,000 transfer. I don't understand, she said, tears streaming down her face. Why is someone giving me this money? Because you deserve justice, I told her. And justice was stolen from you. This is just the beginning of making that right. After the call ended, I felt something I hadn't felt in 12 years. Not satisfaction from winning a case. Not the thrill of outsmarting opponents. Just simple, honest satisfaction from helping someone who deserved help. You did good work, the director said. His image appeared on the screen, still digitally obscured. All of you. This is what Sentinel exists to do. Not just expose corruption, but actually fix the damage it causes. What happens now? I asked. Now we tackle the next problem. Because Morrison's network wasn't the only one. And the $847 million we just distributed? That was evidence of crimes that go far deeper than we realized. He pulled up a new set of documents. They showed financial transfers, legal manipulation, and systematic corruption in multiple jurisdictions. We've identified 5 other networks operating at Morrison's level. Each one is stealing from victims, corrupting cases, and destroying lives. And all of them are connected to a central organization we haven't fully mapped yet. The other architects, I said. Exactly. Morrison was one node in a larger system. We cut her out, but the system continues. And somewhere at the center of it all is someone coordinating everything. Robert spoke up. I have information about that. Morrison mentioned someone she reported to. Someone she called the administrator. She was terrified of them. The director leaned forward, his obscured image somehow conveying intensity. Tell us everything you know. As Robert began explaining what he knew about the administrator, my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Congratulations on your little restitution project, Victoria. You've redistributed Morrison's money, helped victims, played the hero. Very touching. But that money was insurance. Protection against the people Morrison worked for. Now that it's gone, those people are exposed. And they know exactly who to blame. Check your email. You have 48 hours. I opened my email. The attached file was a video. It showed Maya, my sister, being grabbed off the street by 3 men in broad daylight. The timestamp was from 20 minutes ago. The message below the video was simple. Return the $847 million to the following accounts within 48 hours, or your sister dies. After everything you've been through, Victoria, you should know by now there's always a bigger threat. Always someone more dangerous. Always a price for doing the right thing. I stood up, phone shaking in my hand. They have Maya. Daniel was already on his phone, calling FBI contacts. Jake started tracing the video's origin. The director's screen flickered with activity. This is the administrator, Robert said quietly. This is what they do. They find your pressure point and exploit it. How do we get her back? I demanded. The director's voice was grim. We have 48 hours to track down people who've been hiding in shadows for decades. People who've just demonstrated they can grab someone off a New York street in broad daylight without being detected. That's not an answer. No. The answer is that we do what we do best. We investigate, we hunt, and we fight. Because the administrator made a mistake. What mistake? They revealed themselves. For the first time in decades, they've taken direct action we can trace. And that means they're vulnerable. I looked at the video of Maya being taken, feeling rage and fear mixing into something dangerous. Then let's find them. Before 48 hours run out.